everyone, and welcome to Dallas Sports Nation's Baseball Movie Reviews. I'm your host, the Recliner Nerd, John Mort. Let me tell you why we're going to do this. This is just something fun I thought we would do since baseball has decided to take a hiatus for up to 8 weeks for the coronavirus. And why not review some of your favorite baseball movies, some recommendations that you can send me and I'll watch. But these movies have to be about baseball, and I want your recommendations, and you can go down below and put in there what recommendations you have or movies you think I ought to review. If I've seen them, I'll watch them again and we'll do it. One of my favorites, of course, all of us have our favorites, whether it's The Natural or League of Their Own or Bull Durham or whatever. We'll try to get to all of those depending on how long this baseball thing goes. But the one we're going to do today is a special one. It's actually a documentary. And out of all the baseball movies I've watched, this is the one I've watched most recently, and I've watched it 3 times. I love this movie. I recommended it to Levi Weaver from The Athletic. Finally watched it and said, okay, you were right, because I knew he would like it. It's on Netflix, and it's called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. So it's a documentary. The Battered Bastards of Baseball is about Bing Russell. Yes, Bing Russell, the actor. He is the father of Kurt Russell, the actor that you know from Tombstone, that you know from Escape from New York. Anyway, so this is the story of Bing Russell and the Portland area for baseball. It's directed by Chapman and McLean Way, who play an important role because they turns out that they are Bing Russell's grandsons. So the story follows the Portland Mavericks. The Portland Mavericks were, first of all, let's go before that. I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to be some spoiler alerts, but even though this one right here is one that I can tell you all about, it's still, you got to watch it to do it. So what is the Battered Bastards of Baseball about? It's about Bing Russell, a guy who grew up in Florida near St. Petersburg, who in the 30s and 40s became a huge baseball fan, never played it. His father and mother never put him in baseball, and he became a fan of baseball because in St. Petersburg, Florida, the New York Yankees used to have their spring training. And he went out and would hang out by the ballpark where the Yankees would train, and he was trying to get a baseball one day and turned out that his father was doing business with Lefty Gomez after he had to fight some guys for a ball. Lefty Gomez took him under his wing, and he became a bat boy for the New York Yankees, followed the Yankees, went up and grew up and became a huge baseball fan. Now, Bing Russell's important because what Bing Russell did, he grew up, he actually played some independent baseball after that, and when it failed, packed the family up, decided baseball wasn't going to be, it was his first love. He realized that baseball wasn't going to work out for him, so he packed the family up. He moved from Florida to California to make it in the movie business. And a lot of us know Bing Russell from all the movies he was in and all the TV shows. He's what Kurt Russell in the movie affectionately called a plumber actor. He was a guy that went to work every day and worked, and he was always a character actor or a supporting actor. He was in Gunsmoke. He was in a lot of different TV shows. He was on, I think he died 125 times, I think they said. But Bing's first love was always baseball. And for those of you that don't know about Kurt Russell ended up being a pretty good baseball player himself, and went up, and before he got injured, actually played in the minor leagues before he got injured and turned his attention back to acting. So Bing Russell's in Hollywood. He's making movies, doing that, and he was the first one to come up with this idea of making these instructional videos on how to for baseball tips, and he had all these instructional videos, and he also had a little test that he had put out that was like 70 pages long, or had 85 questions and was 15 pages long about situations in baseball, and it was a test that he had Kurt do, and so their house was always a baseball haven. But the big story about the Battered Bastards of Baseball follows Bing Russell up to Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon was a AAA team for many years of the Portland Beavers, and in the early 70s, I think about 1971 or 2, they shut down AAA baseball in Portland, Oregon. So Bing Russell went up there and talked to the people in Portland and ended up buying a franchise into the Northwest League. Back then they were AAA, but Northwest League was single A, and he went up, and it only cost $500 to buy a franchise. And so he bought a franchise and became the only, now at the time, all of us know about independent league baseball right now. There's independent league baseball everywhere, and we all know about that. But it was at the time there were no independent leagues. All the independent leagues had fallen and gone away, and they were all gone now. And every minor league team around the country were all affiliated with some sort of major league team, except for the Portland Mavericks. So he bought the franchise, he opened it up and started the Portland Mavericks, and they played in the Northwest League, which is now where the Spokane Indians play, who are the rookie ball level league right now for the Texas Rangers. But back then they were a Class A affiliation, and they were all affiliated with baseball, and the Portland Mavericks were just an independent team. So he ran this ad in Baseball Weekly, and he ran it nationally and had just open tryouts. And all these old players or people that were never discovered, they laughed at him. They thought it would never happen. They all came down to Portland. They had these open tryouts. And Joe Garagiola picked up on this, and they became a national sensation. And not only that, they were beating all these teams that were in affiliated ball. They were beating them. And so this is a great story about a guy whose love for baseball took it into Portland. He built this thing that became this huge entity. They were there from 1973 to 1977. They won their division every time. They never won the championship. He kept trying to win the championship, and he never got it won because he really ticked off baseball. In fact, he played a big part in some of the antitrust laws that happened in baseball, because back then baseball was divided, and today is also divided in territories. So if you had a territory, you could purchase a territory, and that territory would be yours, and you were allowed to do whatever you wanted in that territory. Well, Portland had an 80-mile radius or something like that territory, and to get back, since they had no team there, since Portland Beavers had gone away and now the Mavericks were there, the Portland Mavericks were outdrawing, in 1 year they outdrew an entire other league, not another team or another affiliate, an entire league. They outdrew them there. They were averaging 4,500 to 5,000 fans a game. They only played Jim Bouton, if you remember Jim Bouton, who wrote the baseball book Ball 4 that got in all that trouble, and that it really exposed the baseball. He came and pitched for him for 1 year. And so they really got this national attention. And back then, if you wanted to, you could go back into a territory and take it back over, and all you had to do was pay the previous owner of that area $5,000 to take it over, and there was nothing you could do about it. So they went and they said, well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Russell, what we're going to do is we're going to come in, and instead of just paying you the $5,000 that we can do and just take the franchise back over and make it a AAA team, we're going to give you 5 times that. We're going to make it $25,000. Well, Bing sued him and said, you're not going to do that. What he had developed there had become such a sensation. He sued him and said that if you want to buy this team and buy this franchise back here, it's going to cost you $205,000, $6,000, which was huge money back then. Baseball had never lost a lawsuit like that. Everyone around the league said, just take the money and go. It wasn't about the money to him. It was about making it right for him. And so he did it, took him to court, and he ended up winning it. A lot of people play a part in this that had big roles. Kurt Russell played for the team for a couple of years. The Bat Boy, I think this is my favorite story of all of them. One of the big players in this was Todd Field. Look up Todd Field. He's in IMDb. He's an actor. He's also a director, an award-winning director. Was nominated for Academy Award. But Todd Field was the Bat Boy. Lived in Portland, Oregon. Tried out and became a Bat Boy. And he's all in this. They interview him all throughout this. And so out of every award he's ever won and everything he's ever done, he said one of the greatest adventures he ever had was being a Bat Boy for the Portland Mavericks. Anyway, the movie's called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. For me, it gets 2 thumbs up. I can't stress it enough. Everyone I've ever gotten to watch this movie has loved it. This is not a movie that was out in the theaters. It came out in 2014. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. It's fantastic. You need to go and watch this movie, The Battered Bastards of Baseball. Go watch it now. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing this again for some other ones. And I want you to send me some suggestions for some movies about baseball. This is the Dallas Sports Nation Baseball Movie Review, hosted by the Recliner Nerd. I'll be happy to look at some movies, and if I haven't watched them, I will. And for some of our favorites, we'll try to get them in. Like I say at the end of every episode of my podcast or anything I write, and now at the end of the baseball movie review. Nerd out.